Good evening, dear friends. How are we doing? This is Julian from Adrenaline Combatives, and I am with no one other than Jessica Jones and Clare Bennett from Amazonia Krav Maga. How are we doing, girls?
We're good.
We're all
Good,
good.
Julian. How are you?
Ah, that's great. That's great. Like we're all talking like if we just met each other. We've been on the
Well, I
yes.
mean, just
We're literally neighbours.
So how's things? How's things? What you been up to?
last weekend we went to the Festival of Martial Arts.
I know I was with
Your
you.
good self.
We enjoyed doing that. We enjoyed teaching at that. It was good. It was good to work with lots of other martial artists as well and other combatives. Instructors.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was nice for everyone to get together, wasn't it? In a different environment, actually, than kind of like, when you go to work seminars and to Kaizen and things. It was a completely different vibe.
Yeah.
So it was really good fun.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was pretty good.
A
Well-
little bit.
We'll even speak a bit about that festival of martial arts. In the meantime, do you girls want to give us like a little introduction of who you are, what you do, and then we'll crack on.
Okay.
So, do you want to go first?
Yes. So I'm Clare Bennett, and myself and Jessica own and run Amazonia Krav Maga. So it's a self-protection school in Manchester. So do you want us to talk about just that, or what we do personally as well, or?
Yeah, you can if you want. Give us a bit of knowledge of who is hiding behind Amazonia Krav Maga.
Monkey face emoji. We just do this all night.
Like peekaboo, can't even say it.
So
On a personal level, I have two children. They're grown up now. Very passionate about my family. I work for the local authority in homelessness, so lots of knowledge and experiences that actually kind of intertwine with what we do as well. That's that keeps me busy during the day. Go on, you want to go?
I'll have a go. Go on then.
You have a go, girl.
So I'm Jessica Jones. Not the Marvel superhero Jessica Jones, but pretty damn close.
Really?
Almost.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I have a couple of jobs myself aside from Amazonia. I'm a painter and decorator, and I'm also a therapist. So I make people feel better. So after I finish mashing them up, I make them all better again. So I got into Krav Maga when I was 43, 7 years ago. So the reason I got into Krav Maga was it was on a personal level. I hadn't experienced any violence myself, particularly, but somebody I knew did. And I was in a position where the person who was doing this to this person was disliked me intently because I was friends and helping this person through this time. And I was in a position where I was in quite a vulnerable position where if he was going to attack me, he would have done. But fortunately for me, he's a bully, and he only picks on people that he thinks he can control and bully.
Well, that's what bullies do, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not one of them. So so after that very nasty experience, there's lots of layers to that story, but it's not a story for tonight. So I decided I needed to do something about it, and I thought I don't want to. Being a therapist, obviously, and I'm used to sort of like manhandling people's bodies and doing backs and and I go to people's homes to do it. And so I carry my treatment couch and my kit bag, and it's very physical what I do still. So I do have an awful lot of strength for a woman, but actually, if this guy had come at me, there's no point having all that strength because I wouldn't have known what to do. You know what I mean? It'd be like that kind of thing. So I just thought, no, I'm not having, this person has treated my friend like this and made her feel scared, controlled and coerced and thoroughly abused for, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
I had like one night experience of the potential of him coming at me, and it was too much. I thought, no, I'm not having that. So I decided I was going to take up Krav Maga, and the local gym had this sign, a bit like the one here, with like a just saying, learn Krav Maga, build self-confidence, get in shape, fear no man. That was the strap line, wasn't it? Fear no man. So I was like, oh, okay, okie dokie. So I thought, right, I'm going to go to that. So I went along to my first Krav Maga class. And actually, have you seen the film Legally Blonde with Reese Witherspoon in it?
I don't think so. I think I must have heard of it, but
yeah, it's a chick flick. But basically, she rocks up to her law school, and she's all like pink, and she's got like a little chihuahua in a big pink bag, and she's all cute and ditzy and stuff. Well, I walked into my Krav Maga lesson, my first Krav Maga lesson, and I was there with my big shades on, and I had my latte from Starbucks and my little pink sparkly gym bag, and I walked in and I was like, hi, for Krav Maga. Right at the moment that this woman was flung across the room, I was like, So the guy came up to me, big silverback gorilla looking type person, and he's like, yeah. I went, oh, hello, yes, I've come from a Krav Maga lesson. And he's like, just looked me up and down. He went, all right, put your coffee down, put those mitts on. That's who you're sparring with. And I was like, oh, no, I've just come to look. I've not come to do anything. And he's like, well, you're here. Put your coffee down, put those mitts on. That's who you're sparring with. And he pointed to Claire. And I was like, no, I am not fighting her. She's going to kill me. Look at her. Because you're fairly ferocious. And that was 7 years ago. And we've been inseparable ever since.
Oh.
And the stuff in between all that is like a whole other story. How I got into Krav Maga.
So that's brilliant. Just a little question of something that I wasn't aware. I mean, you've said to me that you were a therapist, but what type of therapy do you do?
So I do. Pardon?
Are you a counselor, or do you do like?
No, it's physical. So I do sort of deep tissue massage, Indian head massage, psychology, but actually, by sheer nature of what I do, it brings about a counselling session, because as soon as you lay your hands on somebody, people just open up and they want to talk. So yeah, it kind of is a counselling job, really. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. So yeah.
Okay, and so Claire was the lady, that you were meant to spar.
Yeah, he pointed to this one here, and I was like, no.
So what about you, Claire? Tell me your side of the story. How did you end up at that Krav Maga class?
So
how long were you there before Jessica?
So literally, we both came to the same gym, and we both had seen the same sign that said "Fear no man." And I came to the gym, and I would go to the gym and go swimming, and didn't really do the classes. I wasn't really into boxercise and Pilates. Not that there's anything wrong with any of them classes, but they just weren't for me. And then I walked into the gym, and she had this man in a choke, and I was like, I want to do that. So it literally, I want to choke somebody. So it literally was like, it wasn't the reason I did it wasn't necessarily completely different reasons. It wasn't because of, I was searching to do self-defense or do, self-protection or learn some skills. It was just I just thought, well, that'll be handy. I'd kind of always wanted to do self-defense when I was younger, and never found any classes, but that was like 20 years plus ago. So I was just like, you know what? I always want to do this. That looks like fun. I'm going to give it a go. And I think I was only there for about 3 or 4 weeks before you started. So it wasn't that long.
Okay.
And yeah, it was something that was, I think it's quite interesting what Jess said about when she came into the class, and, there was a big silverback man, and literally said to her, put your mitts on, you're sparring with her. And there was no conversation that took place, from a male instructor to a female student about the classes and what they're going to entail, and about if there was
nothing, was there?
No, nothing. If there was any kind of, if you had any, why was you there? Why have you come to this class? Why you'd come there? Is something happened to you, or was it just that you thought that looked like fun? Quite important to kind of pick on that there was none of those. It was literally put your gloves on, you're sparring, and there was no kind of welfare or even a conversation in place.
And that's something that when we became instructors a good few years later, we are very mindful of that, and that is something that we will not compromise on. Any student that comes through our door at Amazonia has a welfare check, because they're there for a reason. They're there for a reason because with all due respect, anybody that comes to us, you're not going to get many people that took the proactive frame of mind that I did, which was like, right, I need to do something before something happens. I need to be I need to feel safe, and I need to feel back in control of my own personal safety. Not many people have that viewpoint. It's people always come to you historically after the fact. So anybody walking through the door of a self-protection class needs to have that conversation. So we always know, don't we, that we have that conversation with people, because we'd been at this class, going to this Krav Maga class every Saturday morning and every Tuesday or Thursday night for a while. And this one Saturday morning, this woman came in. She'd been coming for a couple of weeks, and she was a little bit timid, and we sort of like tried to bring her into the conversation and all the rest of it. Anyway, this one week, she'd only been coming a couple of weeks. And
bearing in mind, just before Jess carries on, this class was for women only. There was no men in this class. It was specifically for women.
Apart from the instructor.
And it was run by a big dude,
yeah. And like out of nowhere, we did our warm up, and then he just got a big duffel bag, tipped out a load of training blades, and went, right, everybody, we're doing knives today. And this poor woman's face, she just was like, she just went into shock. She ran out the class crying. So me and Claire went after him. We're like, are you okay? He didn't even go after her. He was like, whatever. Me and Claire went after him like, are you okay? Is everything all right? What's happened? And it turns out that she had been held up in her job at a bank by a machete. And the minute she saw a blade, training or otherwise, that was her, gone, triggered, bump. And she never came back to class because of his lack of thought and lack of preparation. And you know what? Out of everybody in that class, she was the one person that needed it the most. That's the tragedy / travesty of what it is we do, because there's not enough care taken to make sure that you do massive responsibility.
We've seen it, where women have come to class, like Jess has given that example, and then there was another young woman who'd been sexually assaulted at knife point, and it was just the class was just too much for her, because it was just very male dominated, very aggressive, very intense, and without any conversations taking place beforehand. That's for somebody who's been through that amount of trauma. It's really difficult for her to walk through the door. She's a warrior, that she's wanting to do this and gain back some control over the situation.
Taking the first step towards a better life. For sure.
Yeah, exactly. And getting that control and that confidence back, and it's massive. And for those kind of that welfare not to be done, and those questions asked, and that conversation to take place. We just saw over the years, didn't we? Women coming and just going because they couldn't handle it.
It's not dealt with properly.
It's not. No, exactly. And there's we hear that phrase all the time about being trauma informed, and it is really important, especially in this what we're doing with self-protection.
Yes,
especially when it's teaching women. We're not teaching women who are martial artists, who are, experts at kickboxing or boxing or, any kind of sport. They're just normal women, everyday women.
It's important that at this point that we do say this isn't us having a downer on male instructors that do that, because we have, since we began this instructor journey, and I say journey because we're still on it, we're still going to be on it.
Yeah, of course.
A long time to come.
Lifelong,
we have we have met some fantastic guys, yourself included, and up and down the country. We've trained, we've gone to different countries, we've been all over this country, and the people that we've come across inherently have been male instructors. And you know what a lovely bunch of guys. We've had so much support, encouragement, such a laugh as well. We have such a laugh with these guys. It's almost like we've inherited like 100 new big brothers, and it's lovely, and we've learned so much from them. But one thing they will never have, as good as they are, is the woman's perspective and how it is.
So just to echo what Jess has said, this is not us being like putting a downer on men or male instructors at all, because we've had such encouragement and support. It's been amazing, hasn't it? We've had an absolute
We're still learning from everybody. But in terms of female Krav Maga instructors, we're like unicorns, we just don't exist.
Yeah, and that's something that need to change, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And we've met a couple of fantastic female Krav Maga instructors. One of our comrades, Pip, you met her at the festival. Philippa Martin, she's fantastic. She's doing some brilliant work over down in South Wales. So there's some noise being made, but just not enough. And it's there's a lot of work to be done.
For sure. I like what you just said, and what I could add to that is that if we all start seeing things in such a way that it's a therapy. It's not just people coming and gathering and just hitting pads and learning how to defend themselves. It's really understanding that there is a trauma, first of all, kind of accept it, locate it, and understand where it started, how it started, and how we can heal it. So, like you say, it's, having a conversation with a new student and understand who they are, where they come from, what they expect from the class, what's their motivation, and finding the best way to help them heal their traumas, and not making it worse, because like you say, it can be made worse by people that are just not aware of that, not aware of the traumas, like that lady you said who just moved because of the knife stuff and what she's been through, and she just left the class. So I mean, it's stuff that we're not I'm doing a podcast, I can't talk, sorry. Say again. Oh yeah, cheers man, thank you.
Okay,
sorry about that.
That's all right. Life happens.
What was I saying?
About making sure that the right questions are being asked to.
Yes, so it's basically something that is not really being spoken about, and it should be. And yourself, you went to do this masterclass with Richard Dimitri and Pamela Hermitage.
That was brilliant.
These guys are great, and I definitely will.
It was an absolute game changer for us. That it really was.
Yeah.
It really was. It wasn't taking anything away from what we'd already learned up to that point, but what it did do is it recalibrated our way of thinking in terms of how we go forward. You see, because what me and Claire, the standpoint that we teach from is we call it, well, everyone else calls it but we disagree wholeheartedly.
It's absolutely the sexy stuff.
And by that, what we mean is it's not all the ninja punching, kicking, guillotine chokeholds, takedowns, you can learn all that and we can teach you all that. But that's you taking part at the end of your story. If you're having to access that physical level of ability, something has gone very, very wrong in multiple stages from the beginning of your story, wherever that may be, and the middle of your story, and you're taking part at the end of the story. So while we can teach the physical stuff, because actually that is an important part of it, because if everything else has failed, you're going to need to access your physicality for sure.
Yeah.
But the stuff that is going to, the important stuff, the non-sexy stuff, that's what's going to get you home. That's what's
without you even having to access the physical side.
It's true. That's where we're talking about the non-physical options, the soft skills, and the knowledge of criminal psychology, criminal archetypes, criminal motivations, like awareness and all that stuff that will make a person a harder target rather than. So yeah, I do agree. And more and more, and more and more, I include that in my teaching as well. Where if you have only a couple of hours with a person and that you might never see them again, well, they
You have to make that time count.
Yeah, you have to give them the information that's most
benefit.
relevant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they'll benefit much more from the soft skill than they will from the hard skill. What can you learn in 2 hours of learning how to punch things?
Yeah.
But you can learn a lot in 2 hours. You can learn a lot of things that are going to make you a harder target in terms of personal security habits and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is stuff that when you just put it on people's radar, they're like, oh yeah, oh my God, like listening to your gut instinct. When you describe it to them in such a way that, it's like, well, have you ever had that feeling and something's not quite right? And they're like, yeah. And, who here has had it? And all these hands go up. All right, well, that's your gut instinct. That right there is your inbuilt bodyguard. That right there, you need to listen to, because that's what's going to get you home. But unfortunately, they're the most basic, primitive skills that we have inbuilt in us. They've been dumbed down and they've been
dismissed.
Yeah, and what's worse is what's one thing worse than not listening to your gut instinct is allowing somebody else to dismiss your gut instinct. You've just been a drama queen. It's all in your head.
That's like, yeah.
You're overreacting. It'll be fine. Come to the party. It'll be fine. I'm sure that guy's fine. Blah 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 blah. And no, just no. Listen to your gut. It's there for a reason. So when you point out stuff like that, because if we do a 2-hour seminar, which we get asked a lot to do these workshops within the workplace, so you've got to be mindful of the time that they're able to afford to give to their staff. So it's generally 2 hours into that we do. Yeah. And we have to be careful about what we teach in that 2 hours. It's important.
It's got to be the most important. One of the first sort of workshops that we were asked to do, we was approached by a woman where they've been done situations within the workplace with a number of women, and they wanted to all come together as a collaborative and have a Krav Maga self-protection seminar, and all come together and like sisterhood and camaraderie and get some control back. So we arranged it all, and everything was fine. And they wanted to know like a bit of a breakdown of what we was going to be teaching. And I said to them, well, we're going to spend so much on theory. Like, no, we don't really want that. We want to like hit and kick and punch and do things. Yeah. We want to just get that sort of frustration out on the pads. And I was like, I completely get it. I completely understand. This. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this situation has happened, and you all want to come together and have a bit of a laugh and get a bit of control and hit things, and I understand it, but this is really important. So she was like, well, that's fine, but not too long. Don't spend too long on it. So I was like, right, okay. So we did kind of cut it down a little bit, because this is what they were asking for. They were our customers effectively. But we made sure that what we told them was absolutely relevant. And at the end of the I think it was 4 hours, that one, wasn't it? 4 hours. At the end of the 4 hours, she said to me, what you said at the beginning, I absolutely take it back, because that was so important. And then we had a further discussion about it at the end, and it went over, because they realised this is the stuff we need to know as women, especially. This is the stuff that we really, really need to know.
You see, I get that as well, and I got that actually quite recently, where one guy made I think a 3 hour travel just to get here and do like a 5-hour session with me not too long ago. And I said to myself, okay, we got 5 hours. I'm gonna give him about two and a half hours of soft skills, of personal security habits and awareness and all that stuff, and then another 2.5 hours, 3 hours of just physical training, hard skill. And so we did that, but at the end he said to me, I prefer the hard skills. So next time when I'm coming, let's just skip the fucking talking and stuff. So I was like, okay, fair play. I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what they want, we're giving them what they need, okay? But people are not always aware of what they need, and they attach more importance to what they want than what they need. And at the end of the day, I mean, they come to see you, they're paying you. You can tell them, it's your duty to tell them, look, that knowledge is important. You need that knowledge. But then again, do you know what I mean? If what you want is come here and hit pads hard and stuff like that, then it is what it is. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, we had one guy come to class, and he was this big, like, I think he was Russian or something like that. Anyway, he came and it was really funny because he walks into class, and I said, "Oh yeah, hiya, welcome to Amazonia." And he's like, "I said, is this your first lesson?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "Oh, hi, I'm Jess. I think Claire was just on about 5 minutes away." And he went, "Oh, okay." And he was looking past me. He was like looking for the instructor of the class. And he said, "Where's the instructor?" I said, "You're looking at her." And he just looked me up and down as if to say, "Really?" And then we did the 1.5-hour class. I think I might have wrapped him up like a bit of a noodle a couple of times. And then at the end of the class, he's like, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. But when can we learn all the John Wick stuff?" I went, "Okay." I said, "Right." I said, "So here's the thing. You've just done it for 1.5 hours. John Wick didn't know how to do. John Wick wasn't John Wick after 1.5 hours. So, but that's just sort of on the back of what you said. They want the movie stuff. They want the choreographed stuff. They want the stuff that they think is going to get them home safe. Not. It's going to get them bloody punctured full of holes.
It doesn't happen like in the movies. Yeah.
No, it really doesn't.
The thing is, I mean, it's like, for example, we swear a lot in class. And I make no apology, mainly me into that does all the swearing. You're really good help, yeah.
Do you think?
Do you swear as well?
All the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think I'm just drowned out by moons.
I think so.
And we teach weekly classes down in Prestwich in the Jewish community, and we a really big class of girls. It's sized down slightly now, which is good. Believe me, it's good. It's a good thing. And after the first lesson, we'd used quite a lot of bad language, hadn't we? We just taught them, and it was fitting. It was
appropriate.
Context,
it was
definitely.
Appropriate. And to be fair, for the first class, we did kind of rein it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you can build on.
Yeah.
Did we rein it in?
Only a little.
I don't remember. And anyway, and there was when we were sort of like using swear words and things, these girls were sort of like
like shocked.
And then a couple of days after, I got a phone call, and it was off one of the mums, off two of the girls, two sisters that come, and she said, "Oh, hello, I'm X and Y's mum." She said, "I believe that you." I said, "Oh yeah, hello, are they okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, they're fine." She said, "But I believed you used some rather foul language in class on Thursday." I was like, "Yes, I did." And she's like, "Oh, well, I would very much appreciate it if you wouldn't use foul language, because our daughters are not used to that, and they're not.
That's not how we.
It's not how we talk
at home."
I said, "Okay." So thank you for your call. I've heard what you've said. However, it's not going to change. And she went, "Oh, right." I said, "The thing is, if your daughters have never heard any bad language, or have been experienced of any vitriol or venom coming out of somebody's mouth, God forbid if it happens to them one day, if somebody gets a grip of them and starts looking in the face and they're calling them names and saying something horrible, if they haven't been desensitized to it or inoculated to it, that initial, that the hearing of just those words, never mind the physical stuff, just those words are going to be like,
It'll make them capitulate. Yeah.
Because they won't have, it's just not in their, they've just not had that experience of those words. So I said, do you know anything about Krav Maga? And she said, well, yes, a little. I said, the thing is, when you're dealing with violence isn't polite. It's not.
It doesn't ask permission.
Yeah, it doesn't come with rules. I said, and God forbid. I said, it's ugly. It's chaotic. It's messy, and you don't know what's coming at you. I said, God forbid anybody gets a grip of your daughters, but if they did, if your daughters are used to hearing that level of language, God forbid it ever happens to them, they're going to have some sort of desensitization to them, giving them an opportunity to actually access what they need to access, which is, fight or flight or whatever they need to do. And she said, oh, right. Oh, okay. I said, the thing is that if anybody comes up to them with a view to, causing them harm, they're not going to be like, oh, excuse me, would you be a darling, please, and just step into this, like white transit van, or just step behind this bush while I assault you. There's a girl. No. Happen. It's just not going to happen. I said, so while I've heard what you said, I appreciate your call. It's not changing anytime soon. So, and you know what? Those two girls have come back every single week.
They've never missed a class.
They love it. And they're two of our best students because they listen, they pay attention. And now when if we drop the F-bomb or we swear or anything, they're just like,
yeah. They went through different stages. At first, it was like shock, and then it was kind of like a bit giggly and a bit, and now they don't even. It's just normal. It's just normal, and that's them desensitized to that kind of language.
But that's the same thing. Like, is people need to understand that is not how we speak. That is not how we speak to our mother, for example, or at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure that's not how you raise your kid to speak. I'm sure of that. But at the same time, I mean, look at. When I was growing up, with my mother, it was a bit more like, because I had my stepfather and my mother, they were a bit more on the top of that thing. Do you know what I mean? There was stuff that I could say. I could say shit, but I couldn't say fuck. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. But with my father, it was, as long as it was kind of not aimed at anyone and stuff, we actually had a lot of fun swearing with my father. So, but the thing is, that was part of my education a little bit. Although, when I go to work or when I speak to people, that's not, I do swear a bit, but sometimes I do swear a lot. In fact, in the recent past, basically based on the type of group that I used to be part of, I was swearing much, much more. I'm not swearing as much now, but I still do. But it's one thing for sure is that for the self-protection world, people need to get desensitized to that stuff. And that's like Jeff Thompson used to say, people don't come at you and say, you bloody this, you bloody did this and that. And it just doesn't work the same, innit?
No, not at all.
And it's fun. It's fun to swear. Just say it.
I mean, it's getting back to what the soft skills aspect of it is, all the stuff that people don't place any importance on, and just talk like they're having that conversation about just that in itself is important to understand where it's coming from and the reasons why, and just a couple of foul-mouthed middle-aged women swearing at the world.
With that as well.
With that also, yeah. In fact, swearing's one of our superpowers, isn't it?
Definitely is.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I'm just going to say, so yeah, the soft skills aspect of it is something we really do focus on, and then obviously we do the physical stuff as well. We have to, we need to learn that stuff, keep on it ourselves, but we're continually evolving that and continually learning. That's what can you see our logo in the back?
Yeah, we can.
Well, it's Hebrew, and it reads, hang on, where's my finger on the screen? Right, so it reads, sometimes a teacher, always a student across the top. And that, I'll give myself a stitch doing that. Ow. Okay, sorry, right, back in the room. Yeah, so that's the premise in which we teach by, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
That's good.
You're always learning every day.
Philosophy. That's a good philosophy. And you know what? That's one thing I like with you girls, is that You're traveling everywhere. You're going to train with all the people. You know, there's a lot of people, and we know we've spoken about this before. You know, people that have got to a certain level. Let's say they got their black belt or something, and they went and did their own thing, and then from that point on, they do not grow anymore. They're refusing to go and train with other people because they don't want to be put in that situation where they are back to becoming the student again.
Yeah.
And this is where humbleness finds itself. You know, you might be good at something, but by being aware of what you're good at, then that's great. Okay, you work that, and now you just have a look at what you're not good at, and now you can go and train with people that are good at what you're not good at, and all of a sudden you put yourself back in the black belt, in the white belt mentality. Do you know what I mean? I like that. I think this is the strength, because if you continue to, you'll always be evolving. You'll always get something more and something more and something more.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's definitely what Amazonia has done. You know, we're going to be 2 years old
wow, really?
This month, aren't we?
God,
so 2 years since Amazonia started, and I feel like we both feel like we've evolved a lot in that 2 years.
Oh, massively,
massively. And we're always, you know, we, like you said, we travel around, we go up and down the country, we, you know,
we're always on road trips.
We're always on.
Sometimes you come with us.
Yeah. And we have the eject button, don't we, Julian?
What did you have to give
here as well? I got the mute.
What did you have?
The mute. He's going to mute.
Oh, tables have been turned. That's it. No, what did we have to issue you with on the way to Somerset? We had to give you the speaking stick, didn't we? If you didn't have the speaking stick, you couldn't speak.
Yeah. And you tried to bribe
us. I did good on the last travel.
No, you did. You did.
Yeah,
you were
very proud of you.
You were.
Well
did
done.
good.
Well,
you did great.
You did good. Good job. So just interestingly, what you were saying about belts.
Yeah.
We don't have any belts.
That's good.
We don't have any belts. We don't have a grading system. We don't subscribe to that at all. We're totally independent. We teach what you need to know to get home safe. That's it. That's about as scientific as it gets, and whatever format that comes in, whether it's through soft skills, whether it's through physical skills, anything like that. That's what we teach. And it was funny because we had down at the festival.
Yeah.
We were teaching to this group of people, and there was this really big guy in our group, like big Viking looking guy.
Yeah,
you know, pretty impressive plaits, and he just looked, you know, amazing. Talking about how Amazonia teaches the ancient warrior art of the Bathakat method, and he was like,
of the what?
Bathakat, and he was like,
okay.
And you could see everyone's face.
You could see the cogs turning in his head, like, what is this? Why have I not heard of this? What's going on?
Some, like, ancient, mysterious, like Inca kind of, you know, fighting style. And we're like, so has nobody heard of Bathakat? And they're like, no.
But the thing is, Julian, they were saying it as one word, Bathakat. And then one of the girls cottoned on what we meant, and because a lot of the people who were there were from down south and we're northerners from up north, they went, oh, Bathakat. So he doesn't know.
Try to throw a cat in water and see what happens.
Yeah. So basically, this guy said, "Oh my God!" I said, "Right, has anybody here ever bathed a cat?" And this guy went, "Yes, I did. I had a Maine Coon cat, and I tried bathing it one time." I was like, how'd that work out for you? He was like, "She kicked my ass." I was like, "Yeah, she's gonna, because she knows no bounds." And basically, what he'd done is he'd got in the bath with his cat because she was so big and fluffy. And he had his like swim shorts on, and he said she just leathered me. She absolutely tore me to shreds. And this guy was like 6'3", big Viking of a guy. Yep, cat kicks his ass, and that's kind of where we come from, because cats don't have black belts. Cats don't do kung fu.
But the cats are the most amazing martial artists out there. Like, yeah, I love watching cats fights. Like,
you look at what they use, and what they use, everybody has. Yeah. Teeth and claws and attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, we don't teach how to, you know, necessarily with you know, going strength to strength. You know, if I was to go against you, Julian, you'd kick my ass. You would absolutely, you'd pick me up, that'd be it, done, finish. You'd kick my ass.
I would
Physically, it was strength
for strength.
Yeah.
You would. You know, Tommy did once. You know, Tommy picked me up in a training session. He just flung me over his shoulder and ran out of the room.
Tommy's always doing that to you.
But yeah, strength for strength, we're not going to get the better of a man. We're not going to sit and say to our students, are we, that, you know, that, right, okay, so what we're going to teach you, the Krav Maga that we're going to teach you, you're going to be able to go out into the world and get the better of any man of any size. Just no, because that's wrong, dangerous, and it's irresponsible of us to say that as instructors to our students.
Yeah,
you teach them how to fight smart and not fight hard.
You want to be honest about things, and that's the same thing. You know, when I teach women, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna adapt. I'm gonna have to adapt. Although, you know, if I was to teach a guy, I would teach them a palm strike, how to knock another man out, and that's possible. Although not every man have got it within them to actually, you know, generate knockout power. Some women do. I've boxed with some women that can most definitely knock a man out, but the truth is that most women don't have those attributes. So how do you adapt? How do you actually teach them something in a physical sense? Now we're not talking about the soft skills anymore. We're talking about the actual hard skill. How do you teach something to a woman that really has got the potential to work against an assailant, a male assailant that is physically bigger, stronger, and faster than her, which is very, very probable.
Yeah, of course it is. Exactly. So, I mean, the thing is as well, we have to, as well as all those things what you've said, there's we'll talk about equalizers, so making the fight equal. So, you know, a big guy like yourself, somebody like us, and it's not a fair fight. So it's about how can we change that to make it a fair fight, and that's when we talk about EDCs and things like that. You know, your everyday carries, your mobile phone. If you need to, you know, use your phone to hit somebody in the temple, and that's all you've got on you, it's about making it more of an equal fight, because strength for strength, it's not a fair fight. So you need to make it fair and use what you've got in your environment. Your everyday carries, what you've got on you, what's in your environment, all those kind of things. And then also about your mindset, you know, to actually engage the Batha Cat mode, you know, because if you can have somebody who's absolutely trained, you know, trained in as expert in kickboxing or karate, or, you know, and they train and they're absolutely amazing at their art in a dojo, you know, in a controlled environment where it's point for point. But then if it's out in the real world, they don't engage the mindset because it's not what they've trained for. They train in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
You know, so it's about we talk to people all the time about the mindset and how they can access their inner lunatic, you know, because you have to fight for your life. You have to change your mindset from being the normal everyday person that you are into being a lunatic for that split second to get you home safe.
So how do you access the cat within the Batha Cat?
You give them some context.
Yes.
So basically, we had a situation in, to give them the November example. Yeah. So last November we did a seminar for a business over in Manchester, and it was all women that attended. Bearing in mind this invite had gone out to men as well, and we do have male students. We really, you know, we're very grateful for our male students. You know, think the world of them. However, this one seminar was for women, just women rocked up, and we were talking about how we go from this. I mean, we use this analogy going from librarian to lunatic back to librarian. Yeah. And we were talking about, you're sending a punch out, and a punch is a very specific target to a very specific target. Whereas if you open up your hand, you've got the palm strike, you've got many things that can come from this.
I know you're dying to do it on my face.
So, if I could send out a punch and miss, you know, I mean, I'm not going to because she's literally like 6. But if a palm strike, you know, I've got the chin jab, I've got a nose jab, I've got the face cage right there. With the face cage, you've got your eye gouge, your face rate. Sorry, did I scratch you?
It's fine. I'm used to it.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry.
Fish hook.
Yeah, you know, you've got the fish hook, you've got the ear drag, hair pull, throat punch. Sorry.
It's okay.
She's used to this shit.
All done.
So an open palm is a multi-tool. And we were talking, we were mentioning eye gouging and how you know, get in there and dig in the eye. Dig deep. And this one woman, she was like, oh my God, that's horrible. I don't think I could do that. I said, you don't think you could gouge somebody's eyes out or really stick your digit in there? And she went, no, honestly, I really couldn't. It was disgusting. Oh God. I went, okay. So let's just switch the narrative on this. Have you got children? And she said, yeah, got a little boy. I said, oh, what's he called? He's called Jude. How old's Jude? He's 3. I said, okay. What would happen if this person, this predator, this attacker, was about to do to Jude what he was going to do to you? What would you do then? And this darkness fell across her face, and she like morphed into something.
Yeah.
And she said, I would fucking kill him. I said, would you take his eyes then? She went, yeah, like that. I went, there you go. It's in you. It's in you to do it for your baby, but it's not in you to do it for you. Why have you placed that much priority on your baby and not on you? Because let me tell you, you don't engage that lunatic and you access everything you've got, you ain't going home to Jude.
Yeah. And then Jude is left on his own.
Exactly.
Joe's got no mama because she didn't place that much. And they got it, didn't they? One woman actually started crying because it had moved, that analogy had moved her that much, and she was really like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah. It's really bizarre how people just don't think of it like that. Because, you know, actually you have to be there. You need to go home to your children and to your family, your husband, you know, to the people that are important to you, to your family. Your family are needed and you're loved and you're wanted and your family need you. And the knock-on effect is if you're taken away from your family, to children having no mom or no dad, you know, husbands with no wives, people losing their daughters, you know, that it's not just, so it's about
the pebble in the pond, isn't it?
Exactly.
And the ripples that come from it.
Yeah. So it's just a simple thing to actually, like you said, flip the narrative, and people just seem to understand it. And it's like, why do we not put that much importance on ourselves? You know,
it's you know what? So what you just said is, it's funny how, you know, similar mind come to similar conclusions. We're using exactly the same tactic when it comes to getting our student to access this inner animal. So it's basically using the pain of loss of what we love the most. And as you say, you know, there are people that are not willing to access that level of aggression for themselves. Because we live in a world where we've been conditioned to not
be polite,
docile and polite and stuff. And I have witnessed that myself in a woman that was very, very scared, that got attacked in her home. Obviously, I can't, you know, I'm like a therapist. I can't mention them, but I can just speak about it. She's been attacked at home. By a much larger assailant, a male, and when she came to see me, she was like, I don't think I got it in me to fight. I'd just freeze, like it happened before. I just froze, and that's what happened. And so, you know, that was the same thing. That was me kind of bringing her attention towards a focus onto her loved one, her kid, her husband, her daughter, her whatever it was that would, you know, awaken this within her. And what I like to say, I like to use certain analogies when it comes to that. But one of them is, we all have a criminal mind. even the people that are so, nice and that have got a nice education, somewhere within the darkness of their psyche, there is a criminal there. There is a criminal that is not fit to be let loose in the population. Do you know what I mean? Because
But
criminals,
that's contextual, isn't it?
yes. And so that criminal should be kept in the cage of our subconscious mind, in the cage of the darkness of our psyche. But we should have the keys to that cage just in case it's needed. We should be able to release that criminal on the outside, but we should also be able to bring him back. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Or the dragon. I like to use the analogy of the dragon on the leash. You take the dragon out of the cave, on the leash, it does the job, and then you pull it back in the cave once it's done.
And sometimes, Julian, it's just as simple as people actually realizing that they want permission to be able to do that. They feel like they need permission. Yeah. I'm okay. It's like we said, people feel too polite, and feel like they need permission to behave in this way, to be able to actually stick up for themselves and defend themselves.
It's the fear of consequences, the fear of getting hurt, the fear of hurting others, the fear of getting in trouble with the law, the fear that there's so many different types of fear that people need to learn to override, because at that point it doesn't matter. At that point, the only thing that should matter is staying alive. Do you know what I mean?
The other thing is we do some voice training in Amazonia, because we talk about just breaking down the human body in terms of, because looking at, because you can be a walking weapon. Yeah, you're a walking toolbox of things you can use. Absolutely. But it's about making people aware of what they can use. And the head, for example, has got 5 weapons within the head. Yeah, you've got your brain, you've got your voice, you've got your teeth, you've got a headbutt, and you've got spit. Gross, I know, but it's a projectile weapon. Yeah,
absolutely.
But when you say that to somebody, they're like, oh yeah, and they're a bit like about spit. But you spit in somebody's face, Jesus, I went, right, you do that to somebody, and like, oh my God, what's that going to give you?
You get this flinch response.
Get out of there. Just get home. If
nobody wants to be spat at.
So when you break it down, that they've actually just within their head, they've got 5 weapons. The one about the voice, we do a vocal drill in class, and we've run this past a few instructors, and some are really in support of it, and others a bit like, oh, that's a bit bloody brutal. But it works, doesn't it, for the most part? And how it works is me and Claire stand in front of the group, and the group is in like a semicircle in front of us. Yeah. And we say, okay, so we're going to work around the group. I'm going to start saying my name, and then Claire's going to say her name at a normal distance, and you're all going to say your own names. And then when it gets back to me, I'm going to say my name louder. Claire's going to say it louder, and you're all going to, and it goes around 4 times, and until the 4th time, it goes up an octave every time it comes around to you. And your voice goes up to the point where you're absolutely screaming at the top of your voice your own name. Yeah. And we use your own name because it's something that you're familiar with shouting, because you've had it since the day you were born. Yeah. It's a word that belongs to you. And it's something that it comes in conversation. It's not an alien to your vocabulary, like the words like, rape or help or fire or bomb or, all these like words. So your name. So we go around and we do this drill. And everybody, pretty much without exception, really into it. And,
some people struggle because they might be sort of quiet,
silly,
and they feel silly and a bit timid, and people actually try to say it from the throat rather than from the gut. They're like, do you know what I mean? They're using the throat, and it's straining, and it's like you need to access it from your belly. It needs to come from your belly.
And then what happens is, after they've done this, Claire has a specific rhetoric, what she talks to them about to keep them occupied. Yeah. Meanwhile, I go behind the group and I grab hold of one of them in a bear hug, and I wrestle her out of the group, and I'm dragging her with force. And sometimes she stumbles and she's on the ground, and I'm still dragging her. Nothing.
Nothing. Silence. And we've literally just done this drill where everyone's accessing the voice and using the voice, you know, in a safe environment. But as soon as somebody's grabbed, and I'll be like, use your voice, and it's like 10 seconds, and they'll suddenly like make some sort of noise.
It's only when they make a noise that I let them go. And obviously, like by this, you know, I pick them up and I dust them off. And I'm like, you're okay, you're safe, it's good, you're okay. And then they go back into the group, and then I walk back around to the front and I go, right, does anybody understand? Did anybody hear her? She was ambushed, she was surprised, she was shocked, she was frightened, she had no clue it was coming at her. Did anybody hear her? And we just say, case in point.
Yeah. You see, this is brilliant advice. Yeah. Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, the reason we do this drill is because your voice is a walking weapon.
Yes.
And what happens is, if people are in a situation where they're ambushed or they're grabbed, something like that, and they can't access that because it's nothing on their Google search that this has ever happened before. But if they train in this, they're doing a Google search. What do I do? Scream, shout, you know, make noise, and then that's going to draw attention. But even from a perspective of, if somebody is hurt or sexually assaulted, and it's, you know, we're just going to use for this conversation now, if a predator is a male and attacks a woman, and the woman, nothing happens and nothing comes out of here, and she does nothing, her actual recovery of that assault is so much longer, because there's victim blaming. She'll blame herself. I didn't scream, I didn't do anything, you know, because she's frozen. There's nothing in her Google search engine to say, what do I do? I need to scream. It's never happened to her before, so she freezes. You know, so it's a really important drill, isn't it?
Really important.
You know,
it's, some people disagree with it, but it brutally showcases the point that we're trying to make.
Absolutely.
And after I always go up to my victim afterwards, and I always like give her a big hug, and I just say, you did really well done, are you okay? You know, and she's like, no, I'm really well. And I did it at the Festival of Martial Arts, and I did it with one girl, and she was defending herself. She was like lashing out, and I was like dodging all, because I had these elbows and things coming back at me, and I'm dodging everything. Nothing, silent. It's just silent. And then when I let go of her, and I was like, right, guys, that was the whole point. She was like, yeah, but I didn't know it was happening. If I'd have known it was happening, I would have screamed. I was like,
no, whatever comes out.
That's the point right there.
Go on.
She was a bit annoyed, wasn't she? She was a bit miffed. She was like, oh, I didn't know it was going to happen. If I'd have known it was going to happen, I'd have used my voice. It was like,
I think it's a great idea, and it should be taught, the use of the voice, you know. And that's the thing, that, for example, there is a big reason for that, is that criminals don't want to get caught. They don't want the attention to be brought to this situation. And just by being really, really fucking loud, imagine like at 2 a.m. First of all, if you're street smart, okay, you're not going to be at 2 a.m. in a dark alleyway, okay? But anything that happens, and you start shouting from the top of your lungs, anyone that's got a window open is bound to pop his head out to go, what the heck is happening here? What's that, Rufus, you know? So I think it's a brilliant idea. And like you said, you made a point that women are recovering much better from a sexual assault if they fought back, or if they protested or yelled, and the thing is that very often what's happening is, you know about the freeze effect, code black freeze effect, which is basically when your heart rate goes above, it's like 175 to 225 beats per minute, and the salivary glands are shut down when you go from parasympathetic to sympathetic nervous system, and that's why the voice is not coming out, because it's just not working, it's just not there. So it's very important what you guys are doing to get your student to get that in training, get it on the inside their toolbox, something that should be accessed. What you put on the hard drive is what's going to come out.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, we also, in terms of using your voice as well, it's important from a witness collection point of view.
Yes.
No. I was just thinking the same thing.
No, that's because I got thinking. So we did a course down last September with Tammy Yard McCracken at Cambridge, and that was very, very good as well, because that gave us lots more information and lots more skills to put in our toolbox. But one of them was the action. Now, if you are, for example, let's use a realistic situation, because the big gnarly guys out there, the big burly, the they don't need what we teach. Real people need what we teach. You know what I mean? People who, your woman who's getting beaten mercilessly, who lives next door to you, and that's a much more real situation, a domestic violence situation, than than most people like to talk about. If you don't use your voice, obviously if you're able to, if you don't use your voice, say for example Clare lives next door to me and she is getting beaten every single night by a spouse, and something happens to her and the police ask me as a neighbour, did you ever hear anything untoward? Did you ever hear her complain? Did you ever hear any ruckus? Did you ever hear anything? And I was like, no, it was all really quiet, to be honest. I never heard anything. Versus she's get off me, leave me alone, you're hurting me, get back, get off me, leave me alone. Yeah, if I hear that night after night, and then something
you'll
happens,
be the one ringing the police.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and but if I've not heard that, so her using her voice to alert anybody, somebody walking past, the windows open, me as a neighbour hearing through the walls, that's her subconsciously collecting, because then the police ask me, did you hear anything? Yeah, I did. I heard her ask, I heard her she was hurting her, let go of her repeatedly, night after, or whatever.
And actually in those situations as well, it is the neighbours or somebody at a third party that's hearing all of that, that's the one that reports it, not the person that's experiencing the violence, because situation where they're probably not going to report it to the police because of the repercussions from the perpetrator. So a lot of the time, neighbours or somebody, passerby or whatever, who actually reports it because they're hearing this and they are concerned for the welfare of that person.
But also as well, if you take it out of the domestic situation, put it in a public situation, you're using your voice and you're making a god awful racket, and everybody around's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And if you shout, you're like, "Knife out, knife out, knife out, knife, knife, knife." If you're hearing that, you're going, what the hell's going on? You're going to want to, you're putting it on everyone else's radar. So again, any further questions that are asked, well, what did you hear? What happened? It's witness collection. And it's very difficult to try and explain that to somebody who just wants to come and hit and punch pads. There's a whole other level of teaching self-protection.
That's true.
And that's a small part of it, that.
And like you say, it's like almost like building a case against someone, like someone like an abuser, somebody that's abusing his victim, and like you say, it's all most of the situations happening are domestic, like it's people that we know, teachers, parents, family members. And so how do you it's like a woman, a wife getting abused by her husband for maybe 5-10 years. How does she deal with that? It's almost kind of learning to build a case against that person. Do you know what I mean? By, like you say, by being vocal, so that the neighbors can hear that. Neighbors on the left heard it, neighbors on the right heard it, that person heard it, that person witnessed it as they got out of the car or something like that. And now all of a sudden, a case can be built against that husband. But very often it's like Dimitri says, it's like, when women are in love with their husband and they get beat up by their husband, but they still love and they find ways to kind of forgive them, and they find ways to kind of normalize it.
Well, but the thing is, we've put together this seminar, which we have yet to roll out. We need to do it. We're just so bloody busy. But we've put together the the foundation of this seminar, and it's going to be called the Why Didn't You Just seminar, and it's going to be for people of domestic abuse, domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be open to, it's going to be open to men and women as well. And it's going to be called the Why Didn't You Just seminar, because it's going to take a real deep dive into this kind of stuff about, the whole victim blaming and things like that. And the reason why it's been given that name is because what's the first thing that everybody says to somebody, and they might be well-meaning, it could be from a police officer, it could be from a solicitor, it could be from could be from a friend. Why didn't you just leave him? Why didn't you just scream? Why didn't you just report him?
Why didn't you just lock the door? Why didn't you just,
why
change the locks? Why didn't you just do this or do that?
Why didn't you just? And actually, it's not that bloody easy. It's not, why did you just leave it? Oh, because he's my husband and I've been financially controlled for years and I have no financial means of getting me and my kids out of there. Why didn't you just report him? Oh, because he's my boss and I'll lose my job and I'm a single parent and I've got a mortgage to pay and kids to feed. So no, I didn't report him for raping me. So this whole, why didn't you just, that's...
To then flip the narrative, actually, the question that why didn't you just question should be being asked to the perpetrator. Why didn't you just behave as you should have behaved? Why didn't you just leave her alone? Why didn't you just stop at your second pint? Why didn't you just go home and not get pissed? Why didn't you just behave like a boss should behave and not, can use your influence and your power to sexually assault your staff? Why these questions, why didn't you just, questions being directed at
they're not helpful. These questions are not helpful.
That's the whole point of it. That's why it's going to be called the Why Didn't You Just seminar, because actually that's the fucking last thing that any woman or man that's been abused,
moving the knife in the wound.
It's like, well, what do you mean why didn't I just? Because I was terrified. That's why. Because I was terrified. I didn't have any skills about me. I was trying to protect my kids. I was it's not helpful, but that's the irony of the title of this seminar. It's been in the making for a good year now, hasn't it? The seminar, but the thing is, the more we learn, the more we want to add into the seminar, and it's going to be like a weekend long. I think it's going to be big, but it's we do feel very, very passionately about this, very passionately about it,
and we actually feel like we're really privileged, in a real privileged position that we have gained all this knowledge and all this information that we can just pass on to people to help them. We just want to help people be safe.
We're not precious about it. We don't do it for the money. If we can break even and get our room rent paid, brilliant.
And maybe not Starbucks.
We do.
But you know what? That is the most important thing that a lot of people forget in our game, in the self-protection game. Yes, is the main ingredient is not to be a good explosive fighter or a good pedagogue, somebody that's got a good pedagogy or good methodology. That counts, of course, it counts. But that is not the most important thing. That's not the first thing that I would put on the line. The first thing that I would say that is the most important to be a good self-protection instructor is empathy. Do you know what I mean? And if you have that empathy, if you truly love people and you've been maybe victim of violence yourself and you know how it feels like to be on the other hand of this, like I have, for example, then you don't want anyone to go through that shit. Because it sucks. Violence sucks. Violence sucks ass and swallows.
The other thing about you mentioned something about verbal de-escalation and empathy. That's what you said. You mentioned that we did the Richard Dimitri masterclass back in.
He's amazing. I love Richard.
May. Yeah, he's a lovely guy. Him and his wife Pam, really, really good people. I hope they're watching this, actually. See,
that sounds rich. I think he's quite busy. I don't know.
He was too busy for this. So he was talking to us about, in terms of social violence and social violence, and social violence 9 times out of 10 can be de-escalated if you fish for empathy. But basically, 9 times out of 10, you could be dealing with a good guy having a bad day. And if you can fish for empathy and you can put your own ego to one side, and when we talk about ego, we're not dissing the male ego. Ego belongs to men and women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Both men and women have egos. Unfortunately, men get really bad press. Oh, it's a male ego. Well, no, women have it as well. So if you can put your ego to one side and just fish for empathy in that person. So, for example, you fucking spilled my pint. Hey, listen, mate, I'm really sorry. My mind's not in it. I just lost my job today and I'm all over the place. Let me buy you another one. Yeah. A good person having a bad day, be like, hey, no, listen, you're all right, mate. Honestly, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's just a pint. Sorry about your job. Yeah. Then you fished for empathy. You found it, and that's de-escalated, and just normal service will resume. If this is all, I'm summarizing and it's like a hypothesis.
Yeah.
If you spilled somebody's pint, and hey, listen, I'm sorry, mate. I didn't see you there. I'm really sorry. I'll let me buy you another one. Bit clumsy. Mine's not on it. I've just lost my job today. And this guy turned around, or girl turned around, and she says, I don't give a shit about you losing your job. What are you going to do about my spilled pint? You fish for empathy. You didn't find it. You are no longer dealing with a good person having a bad day. You are dealing with a bad person who wants trouble.
Yeah.
And then, so if you verbally de-escalate, if you then can't extract yourself from the situation, so you've tried to verbally de-escalate, you've tried to get out of the situation, none of those have worked, and you then have to go into your next level of skill set, which is the physicality. But if you can de-escalate it at that point, get home safe.
Because most people, like Jess said, a good person having a bad day, if that person, you've done something to upset them, like you've spilt the drink or you've jumped the queue or whatever, most of the time, if it's a good person having a bad day, they just want to be heard that they feel like they've had something, an indifference done to them, and it's not fair that you've jumped the queue or you've spilled my drink. This isn't fair. And, if you acknowledge that you've done that and you listen to them and they feel heard and they feel seen, and you're apologising and offering to, what can I do to resolve this? Most of the time they will end up actually, like Jess said, apologising to you. If they've got empathy, then they will.
I use a really good example in class about my driving. Now,
she's a shit driver.
I am a shit driver.
You know this, Julian. You know this.
No, he was asleep the whole time. He slept.
We missed it when you nearly crashed, didn't he? He was asleep.
Monkey face.
I was like.
It was a huge sigh of relief when I took over, wasn't the Julian?
Please make it stop. That's not true.
Absolute huge sigh of relief. It's like, thank fuck for that.
So we both quite finished assassination my driving prowess. So basically, I was in this traffic situation once, and I think I cut this guy up. Didn't even see him. I think I might have been putting some lipstick on at the time and drinking a latte. Maybe I was on the phone. I don't know. I'm joking. And basically, so we leveled up with each other in the traffic queue, and he wound his window down, and he's like, I'm an idiot.
Driver.
You cut me up there, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And he's like, yeah, well, you need to watch where you're going. I said, dude, I am totally sorry. I'm a really bad driver, so chances are I probably didn't see you, so I'm so sorry. And he went, and he was like, well, anyway, well, just be careful. And I was like, yeah, I will, I promise. And again, I'm really sorry. And yeah, like I said, really bad driver. And he just went, well, I'm sure you're not that bad a driver. I was like, oh no, dude, seriously, I totally am. And we ended up laughing in this traffic queue, and that could have gone totally the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, had I not been so self-deprecating and totally admitting my epic failure as a motorist, then that could have gone totally the other way. My ego could have jumped in like,
You successfully de-escalated the situation. You used the right.
I did. It's self-deprecating. It's taking the piss out of yourself. It's admitting that yes, indeed, you are actually a shit driver.
Are a shit driver.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Did I tell you about the time she mounted the curb?
She's got trust issues. Haven't you?
You're driving.
Oh, but did anyone die? Nobody died. So dramatic.
Is this an interview or a cat fight already? Like,
Not the cat.
you know what? I've seen a meme not too long ago on Facebook where, you know, it's like every time somebody complains about my driving, and there is a but did you fucking die?
I put it on Facebook the other day, and I tagged Lee Barrett and Clare into it because Clare and Lee went to Scarborough on Saturday to a Krav Maga seminar, and the pair of them, oh my God, anybody would think I'd killed them. So dramatic. Nobody died, but did you die? No, they didn't.
Almost.
Die,
On
mate.
many occasions.
They didn't.
And then somebody else, what do you want, Claire? You were the Claire.
My other Claire.
Put a comment on, and Jess was like, "Well, whose side are you on?" I was like, "The passenger's side."
That's it. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh,
On the side of the victim.
but no, verbal de-escalation is really, really, really important.
Yeah.
When we do we call it verbal jiu-jitsu, and we use it in class, and we do scenarios, and we have such a laugh. We get a really important message across, don't we? But they have such a laugh doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do old stuff like that, and it's
important.
There is a video that I need to send you. I need to send you that link. I think we spoke about it before. It's Team Tackett. It's a video of Team Tackett actually on verbal judo, of how to actually successfully de-escalate, diffuse a situation with dialogue, you know. And he was saying, if I remember well, he was saying something along the line of, you know, some guy comes to you and is like, well, dude, what the fuck are you looking at? If you're fucking looking at me, you're staring at me and this and that. And he goes, oh, listen, man, I'm really sorry. Actually, I was, but I wasn't really staring. I was looking at your shirt, man.
Yeah, I've seen it. He's got glasses on this guy, hasn't he? I've seen it. Yeah, we use that in class a lot. And the other thing as well is you've seen the film Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Oh, do you know what? I've been meaning to watch this again.
Yeah, and basically, you know, it's the bit where he's training all the doormen because they've been used to just being like brute force and punching everyone, and
be nice.
Actually, and he comes and he goes, just be nice.
Yeah.
Right up until it's not to be nice. And one of the doormen says, yeah, what if she calls my mum a cocksucker? And she goes, well, is she? Because if she is, he's telling the truth. But it's it's a good film. But yeah, just be nice. Just be nice. There's no reason to not be nice. And then, you know, if you can be nice and find other people's niceness, and if you can't find it, then switch your narrative and do what you're gonna do.
But that's what I like about having proper de-escalation tactics, is that you fish for empathy in order to kind of find out what type of person have you got in front of you. Are you facing, like you said, a good person having a bad day, or are you facing a sociopath that's got an agenda, somebody that's got an agenda? At which point you know that the situation is not going to be de-escalated. So at that point, you can just drop the guy with clear conscience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I tried. I'm trying to be nice.
And the law will be on your side at this point. Do you know what I mean? So, do you girls implement also?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's another aspect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? The law on.
Yeah, I mean, we were told. There was a guy we trained with actually when we went down to see Tommy that time in May. The guy called what's he called? Scott.
The big dude.
Which big dude? It was a room full of big dudes.
The police officer. Yeah, I remember Scott. Yes.
Yeah. So he's given us an awful lot of information in the past about it, and also as well, Craig Lawson. He's told us an awful lot about, and we did that. That Jeff Thompson with you. Do you remember last March?
Yes, with
Duncan Andrews.
Duncan Andrews, who is amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, between the three of those guys, they've given us enough intel to put together enough information that we can give our students. Because again, from a self-protection point of view, that's a huge part of it. Yeah, people just think it's all about the kicking, punching ninja stuff, and it's not. It's like, well, hang on a minute. All right, so you put somebody on their ass, and you've heard what now? You know, because it's all that's the pebble in the pond. All the ripples from this. You know, what happens, you know, are you facing a court case? Do you have to remortgage your house to pay for your legal bills? Are you going to put your family in jeopardy? Do you have to go to prison? If you're going to go to prison, who's going to be the main breadwinner? You know, it's massive, it's huge.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, you know, and you've got this whole, like the one punch kills thing. You know, you've got to explain
it happened to someone I know.
Yeah, well, it's happened to somebody that I know that ended up in prison about it.
Same thing here,
just also as well, it was just on the news 2 days ago, somebody in Warrington, one punch kill, you know, and it's all stuff. And that poor guy, well, both of them, the one that's dead and obviously the one that did it, because that guy that punched the person did not set out that night to kill a man.
No, of course not.
Got pissed, no verbal de-escalation, right outside, boom, boom.
Yeah.
It's not even a punch, it's the hitting of the street furniture.
It's hitting the floor,
That guy that did that didn't mean to kill that guy. But the aftermath of that whole sorry affair is going to be life-changing for everyone. For both
his family, himself, I know.
Yeah. And that's why it's really important to teach that aspect of it as well.
Yeah. You see, that's one thing, because a lot of people that teach self-protection are only focusing on the middle. And there is a beginning, there is a middle, and there is an end. Exactly. There is a before, there is a during, and there is an after. So there is a
whole holistic approach, isn't it?
Confrontation, in-fight confrontation and post-fight confrontation. And so it's so important to include all that.
That's why. That's because people say, oh, do you teach self-defense? And we go, no, we don't. We teach self-protection.
Yeah.
Because self-protection, like Claire said, it's holistic. It's 360-degree approach to everything. You know, it's not just because if you're having to defend yourself, attack, and if you're already under attack, how somebody to get here? If somebody's got here and they're in your face and they're attacking you physically, something has gone. That's you taking part of the end of your story. Yeah, that person didn't just magically appear in front of you.
Yeah. It's like Lee says, it's not Star Trek, you know, people don't...
just like, you know, mirage in front of you with a knife to your throat. How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, where was your awareness?
There's lots of other things that come before that, isn't there?
You know, where was your awareness? Where was your
gut instinct? You listen to your gut instincts.
Why didn't you just?
Why didn't you just?
You know, and so self-protection... Yeah, why didn't you just? So self-protection, this is why we're called self-protection, not self-defense. That's why, because it's holistic. It's everything. It's how you carry yourself in the world. It's how you interact with other people. It's how you read other people's body language. It's looking at your own body language. It's how you verbally interact. It's how you're physically able to look after yourself, because you can't be having all this like swagger and sass if you ain't got it. If you ain't got the courage of your convictions, because you can be all mouth, but if you're a rabbit in a bear suit, any predator or any person who's coming after you, they'll sniff you out. They'll know that you are faking that shit. And a rabbit in a bear suit will be found out like that. So don't be a rabbit in a bear suit. Be a bear in a bear suit and have that, you know, conviction. Yeah, exactly that. If you can't do all the stuff...
You said it wrong. It shouldn't be a naked bear in a bear suit. If you're a bear, you're in a bear suit, isn't it? It's like
if you're a bear in a bear suit, they're really warm.
Take the zip and they're all naked.
Like, it would be like a really good warm bear. Yeah, I mean, if the bear in a bear suit was in like Antarctica, it'd be like no problem. But if that bear in a bear suit was in Hawaii, then that's a pretty warm bear.
I know.
But yeah. Enough about the bear.
How have we got onto the bears in
It's
Hawaii?
Him. He just goes off on a tangent. Look at him. He's loving it.
A bear in a bear suit in Hawaii.
Yeah,
it's hot.
Anyway, so yeah. It's about having the whole holistic approach to your own protection, because actually
that's really important.
It's not anyone else's job. It's your job. It's your body, your life, it's your liberty, it's your responsibility. Look after it. And that's that. I mean, God, we could talk about this all night.
We could talk about it all night. I mean, we just talking about what Jess has just said about your responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you drive a car. Now, I know you're having driving lessons, Julian, and you'll soon be a driver.
Yep.
But if you drive in a car, you're responsible for that vehicle. You know, you're responsible for checking all your mirrors. You're responsible for the passengers. Responsible for the pedestrians, the lights. actually driving the car. You know, you're responsible for everything. You need to get from A to B. Actually, the driving a car is simple. The mechanics of it, your gears, your clutch, your brakes, that is simple. It's everything else, your awareness, looking in your mirrors. You know, you might be doing this while you've got 2 screaming kids in the car, the radio's on, you know, you're thinking about work, you're thinking, I've got this to do, I've got this deadline to meet, there's a kiddie running out, there's a dog here, there's a motorbike pelting down the road. You've got to watch everything holistically around you, all of that. And you're responsible, because if you have an accident, you're going to be questioned. Well, is it your fault? Did you cause this accident? Was you not paying attention? You know, was you not doing what you were supposed to do and being responsible as a driver? Take the car away, and there's just you, and then we don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Down, phones are in our hand, earbuds are in, we don't do any of that. We don't look around us, we don't look if there's anybody behind us, we don't watch the people on the other side of the road, this gang that look coming towards us. Actually, I'm just going to cross over because they look a little bit dodgy, because we don't want to upset people. We're too polite. They're going to think I'm being rude if I cross over. They're going to think I think that they're dodgy, you know. And it's take away the car, and all of that awareness just, you know, goes out the window. And we said this in one of our classes, and a student said to us, but that would be exhausting to walk around in that heightened state, you know. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, you're not. You're not walking around going, oh my God, somebody's going to stop me, somebody's going to, you know, you're not walking around like in this just state of paranoia. It's just about bringing it into your day-to-day, you know, your day-to-day routine. Because when you get in a car, you don't get in your car and go, oh my God, I'm going to crash this car today. You know,
I've got so much to do. I've got so much to think about.
Yeah, you just do it because you're taught to do it. Because we taught to drive a car, and that's the real important things, is all of that awareness around us. But we're never taught to look after ourselves and be responsible for ourselves. And it's exactly the same thing.
I think the analogy of the analogy of the car is absolutely fantastic for that, because it gives you a good representation of what it is to just be aware without plugging in the paranoia in there, because there is a fine line between paranoia and awareness.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're driving, I mean, the driving instructor is telling me, right, short distance observation for road markings and this and that and direct problem, long distance observation for signs and obstructions and things, and then, you know, look around, look in your mirrors and stuff. So it's like you say, you don't jump into a car thinking that you're going to crash the car. It's just it's your responsibility to be aware, because your life is in your own hand, and if there is somebody in the car with you, then
exactly, and you're held accountable. Yeah. You know, so when you have your driving lessons and you're not just taught how to change gear and how to brake and how to use your clutch, that's simple. That's your first lesson. That's mechanics right there. So for us walking down the street, you know, we're taught as children, you know, you learn how to walk, don't you? But we don't just walk down the street and ignore everything else around us. But we're not taught to do that. We're not taught to be aware and look at our surroundings and you know, be socially aware in our environment and so on. But it's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
We did some teaching for some kids about a year ago, and we just did a very short course of teaching children. It's not something that we routinely do, because the nature of what we teach does come with a little bit of brutality, and obviously you have to be old enough to understand that.
Yeah.
We did this short course for children last year sometime, and what we did for every week of the course, we put something odd in their environment. So like, I'd take a big like cuddly octopus and I'd park it in the corner of the room, or we'd take a beach ball and park it in somewhere. So every week they were like
bottles of shampoo one week, and just random
stuff that they wouldn't. So they were in a gym, because it was held in a local gym. So it was draped over the boxing ring. And the kids then got used to being in this a familiar environment, but hang on a minute, what's unusual? What? And they got like a little point if the person got the most unusual item, the most out of place item. And what it was doing was it was teaching them to, okay, so their walk to school is the same every morning. You know, their walk to the shops and back, all the same. All their walk to their friends is the same. It's the same. It's the same. At some point, if something's not right, doesn't sit in their environment, they're not used to seeing. Maybe it's a white van that's parked there, or something that's parked there all the time, every day, scoping it out or whatever. It gives them a good base knowledge of, don't get used to just looking for things that are out of place, looking for things that look dodgy, looking for things that and we did it in a fun way, and that was a really good lesson to teach them, because they couldn't quite get it at first, but then they really got into it, didn't they? Every time they came into class, they were like looking around like, what is it this year? And that's good learned behaviour for them to take into their. So it's from a kid's point of view, it was good.
For sure. I mean, do you know, like, awareness, it's good to install this from a young age. I was lucky enough that with my father, we were doing that type of game, like, checking the plate numbers. We used to make names, with the first letter of the plate numbers. We used to create sentences with that. That was a game with my father. We were like creating funny sentences with the letters of the number plate cars. But there is if you're first of all, if you're street smart, I mean, I grew up, in dangerous neighborhoods, whether it was in France, in Latvia, or in Lithuania. So it's part of my education to just be aware and look around. Some people have got it. Some people need to learn it. A good game. There's a couple of really good games that you can teach your students. You probably already do. The first one is the game of cross and check. And that is that when you're walking, get used to see people first before they see you. So if you see somebody, if somebody just turned from the street on the right in front of you, and as he's turning, he's not directly looking at you, but you're looking at him, and now he sees you, that's a check. You've seen that person first.
Right,
now,
if
you are that person that just turns from a street, and all of a sudden your eyes go onto a woman, and that woman is already looking at you, that's a cross, because
she's seen you before you've seen her.
So that's a real game of awareness that you can teach. And the other one is a game that is being taught to the police forces, to the military, and like close protection operatives and all these guys. Is the game of call it as you see it and as you hear it. So as you're walking and you hear things, you're like, oh, that's a car honking. Oh, that's a person.
Richard Dimitri does something very similar called Give It a Name Game.
All right, yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly.
And it's really really effective. He said it can increase your awareness. And it's really good. We do something. Carry on.
Well, you got a visual one as well, where you see things and you give yourself as much details as possible as you see things. So you're walking. Okay, like white male walking towards me 50 meters away, black jeans, blue top, looking confident. There is a blue Opel Corsa that just turned from the left there. There is the number 32 bus that's driving from over there. A mother just crossed the road with her baby. Do you know what I mean? Just kind of keep giving yourself as much information as possible. Or there is
so flip it on its narrative, in terms of you. Like, we used this example at the festival a couple of weeks ago. You clock somebody walking towards you, and you clock them, scan them, and you a quick sort of like scan of what they are and how big they are, how tall they are, and all the rest of it. That doesn't necessarily have to have a negative slant on it. That could be, right, you've passed each other on the canal bank or whatever, and he's further down the road. You run into trouble a little bit further on. You already know there's a very able-bodied guy who just walked past. So using your voice, you can attract his attention because you've already logged it to memory that he's there, he's in your vicinity. So use him for help.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily, it doesn't always have to be have a negative slant to being aware. We do a drill in class, don't we, called the chaos management drill. I don't know, did you hear it at the festival when we got everybody like ribbiting like frogs and shouting the name out and stuff? Did you hear it?
I think I'd remember if I heard it. I don't think I did.
Well, it was very noisy in our corner of the field anyway. But that's a good drill, isn't it?
Yeah. It's about as well, if you're, it's like you said, if you're walking down a canal and you you pass somebody. It's about witness collection, you know. So say, for example, you walk past a woman and then there's a man behind her, and you know, and then something happens to that woman and you've clocked the guy, the woman, you know, and it's just having that. It's not about, you know, we say this and drill it into our students. It's not about having this paranoid, being in a paranoid state of mind, you know, that something's going to happen. It's just being observant, you know, and I think it's something that actually comes quite natural to some people anyway. I remember when I was in a history class, and we was all, 2 classes were brought together, and we was in a room for a short period of time, and then the teachers went out and we were all asked to describe what one of the teachers was wearing. And we'd seen these teachers for literally about 30 seconds, and honestly, right, I was on point. I nailed everything that this woman had on.
Bragger.
Honestly.
Bragger.
Yeah. It's just about being observant, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
It's
know.
true. It's true, and that, you know, there's a lot of things to actually go for. So that there is like a little module, a little something that I created for that, which is basically a mean to gather as much information about the person before they get in your personal space, from 100 meters to 50 meters to 20 meters to 0 meters, which is the point where people are crossing. So the first one is the one I call long visual distance communication, which is 100 meters away. What can you actually see? Not much. You can't see eye contact, facial expression from that distance, but you can see the overall energy of the person, the way they're walking, their body language from far. That's the first thing that you can see. And we all know body language is 55% of the communication, so it gives you a lot of information. You can see what they're wearing from far away, more or less. I mean, you can see the difference between a man that's wearing a suit and carrying a suitcase and somebody that's wearing a tracksuit, for example. They're going to have a different energy the way that they walk. That's long distance visual communication. Then you get from 50 meters, which is like a bit closer distance communication, where now you can start to see if the person is looking at you. You can already start more or less to see what sort of facial expression they have, or facial characteristic, and of course, once again, body language. And then 20 meters away is the verbal distance communication, where now if people are talking to you, you can actually hear that they're talking to you. Now you can see the eye contact. What are the eyes saying? Is there eye contact or not? Is it a prolongated eye contact? What are the eyes saying? Are they happy, upset, anxious? Is he or she making eye contact, or maybe avoiding eye contact, which is a sign of a lack of self-confidence and things like that? That will be also reflected in the body language, the way that people walk. And so you got that. And then obviously when we speak about verbal communication, then now we got the remaining 38% auditory cues, which are the way that things are being said, the pacing between words, the intonation, the tone of voice, and all that stuff. And of course, the 7% words. What are the words saying? Is the person talking to us? What is the person saying? So that kind of thing. And then the 0 meter is where we're actually meeting. Either we're crossing or we're clashing, depending on the situation. And so that would be the physical communication. And so I speak about negative physical communication, because there is positive physical communication and negative physical communication. Like positive physical communication is wife and husband that love each other and that things go beyond words. Yes. And negative communication now is 2 people that do not agree and they're clashing. And they're like, they can't talk anymore because they tried. Now they're fighting. So it's still what we call closed physical communication. So
and all that stuff that you just said, all that stuff, the scanning somebody as they're coming towards you, and as the space and the distance is closing, and you're giving all these, you're doing like an auditory scan, a visual scan, and a physical scan. All that sounds like a very, very, very long list of things to do, but all that's done in that time. Second. But it's knowing how to look for it, knowing what you look for. And again, that's a huge chunk of self-protection as well. It's just an absolute not a minefield, it's just an abyss of information, you know, that needs to get put across to people. Yeah, it's huge.
What about personal development, girls? Is that something that, first of all, is that something that you use in your everyday life? I mean, I love NLP, for example. I use NLP for myself. I use NLP to teach other people as well, like, you know, positive affirmations and things like that. Are these things that you teach to your students as well to empower themselves?
We do teach empowerment, but not through NLP.
Yeah.
We like Claire mentioned earlier, when somebody walks through our door, we don't view them as victims, or, you know, we view them as warriors, because they've already got balls of steel to walk through that door in the first place.
Yeah.
So we don't work from a position of weak, we work from a position of strength. And so that's like, we're dealing with these people and they're fragile like a bomb, not fragile like a flower. And once you put that mindset into that person, that they are actually just freaking warriors, and, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to take that strength that exists already within you, and we're just going to magnify it and just make you a million times more powerful, a million times more strong inside, and the belief in yourself. And we're just going to take what you've got, which is already awesome, and make it bigger and make it better. And the feeling of empowerment. I mean, we ask for feedback. We give little feedback slips at the end of seminars and stuff. And some of the stuff that these women and some men write on these feedback slips, you read it back and you're like, oh my God, we've made that person feel like that, you know? So we do empower people, not through anything specific or anything, just the way we are and what we can see with people. Like, we've got, what did Irene say to you that time?
So Irene's one of our students, and Irene is 75 years of age. And
Irene's
she's awesome, absolutely awesome. And we were training one night, and I said to her, Irene, I said, you know, when you wake up on a Wednesday morning after you've been training, because she's, you know, she can pack a punch and she's up and down on the ground, you know, she gets stuck in. There isn't a lot that stops her at all. She's, you know, she's a warrior. And I said to her, what?
She's a bugger though, because if she don't want to listen in class, you just say, Irene, are you listening? No.
She's 75.
She can do what she wants.
Yeah, exactly. But I said to her, what, you know, when you wake up on a Wednesday morning after you've been at class, an hour and a half, I said, how do you feel? You know, thinking she might say, oh, well, my hips hurt and I feel a bit, you know, whatever, I'm getting on a bit. And she just went, I feel on top of the world. She said, I feel empowered. She said, I feel strong. I feel bright. She said, I just feel awesome.
Like a warrior, didn't she?
She's just like a warrior. And I was just like, cool.
That there.
Yeah. Job done.
If we stopped everything we did tomorrow, if Amazonia came to an end and we stopped everything we did tomorrow, what we've done and how we've made people feel and how we've managed to reach inside and pull out their ability and make people feel the way we have done, if it all stopped tomorrow, that would be enough for us. Yeah. That's job done.
So mission accomplished.
Accomplished.
But we're going to keep going on and on and on, helping and stuff.
You know, when we was at the festival a couple of weeks ago, you know, we had an hour slot on each day, and on both of the slots we had feedback from two separate people about how what our class had done had changed themselves and their mindset, and
1 hour
and encouraged them, and they felt empowered, and things that we said resonated with them, you know, and it was relatable, you know, and that was just in an hour, and that to us, that was worth the 5-hour journey with you in the car, Julian.
I know. I know. Come on.
You know I'm joking.
I know. You know,
no, I mean, we plan to go on and do much more. We've got things in the pipeline that we're going to be working on later on this year with a charity called Rebuilding Lives.
Okay.
And that is with a woman who It's a national charity now, actually, and the woman who runs it was herself a victim of domestic violence, and she was left with her partner, the violent partner that left her, was left with her house was an absolute mess. He'd like wrecked walls, pulled light switches out, just trashed the house. It was almost like, well, if I'm not living here, neither are you. And this happens a lot. And what this lady has done is she's put together over time a national database of tradespeople. So if somebody like a woman in Aberdeen, for example, has a situation where the violent partner has left the home and trashed the family home, and this woman has no financial means of putting the light switches back or putting the bath taps back or, you know, rebuilding a wall or whatever, rebuilding lives, then this person can go to this charity and say, right, this is what's happened and this is what I need. So Rebuilding Lives looks at their database, finds somebody in that area that can do that particular job, and they get dispatched there, and it's all paid for. It's a charity.
Wow.
You don't have to pay for.
That's amazing.
So it is amazing. It's what this woman's doing is brilliant. So this woman has reached out to us as Amazonia and said, look, you know, we need you, because obviously we can fix the houses, but we need help fixing the women. And that's where we come in. So we're going to be working with Rebuilding Lives later on this year.
There's a couple of other things as well, isn't there? So there's a university in Manchester that wants us to, they've asked us to deliver some self-protection classes to the women as part of, they put on different activities. So it might be yoga, or it might be, you know, netball or whatever. And people have asked self-protection classes. And it's actually quite important because there is a lot of sexual assaults that take place on university campuses that don't go reported. They're just not reported, really underreported. And so it's really important that these young females and males as well, you know, we're not just saying this, it's only ever women, because men actually, if men get sexually assaulted, they tend, it's very underreported because the stigma of it. They don't want to go to the police, they don't want to report it. So we've been asked by one of the universities, which we're hoping that should be taking place in September. And we was approached by a gym in Preston where it's a ladies only gym. And it's that again is all about, you know, women empowering women. And they have been looking for self-protection classes, but they wanted female instructors. So we're in collaboration with them and we're doing our first seminar at the beginning of September, and then with the view of doing quarterly seminars, delivering them. So we've got a lot.
The other thing that Claire touched on was male victims as well. So we're going to be looking to do some work in the LGBT community, because there is an awful lot of violence, violence-based attacks on the LGBT community. And for example, if you are a gay guy, for example, and you are in an abusive relationship with your husband or your partner or whatever, or you just, you know, you're out on Friday night around Manchester, for example, and you know you get attacked for, you know, just being yourself. You know, it's disgusting how they're treated, but it is what it is. It's unfortunately the society we live in. If you then have had that happen to you, and you need to get some skills to empower you, and you walk into a self-protection class and you look at the very same silverback gorilla guy that I was looking at and that Claire was looking at, what are you going to do as a gay man? What are you going to do? Nah, I'm out of there.
Do you know something quite interesting is that I did something for the LGBT community. When was that? A good 4 years ago. We did like a little seminar. Some guy that I met when I was doing my security course, he was doing his security course as well, and we got chatting, and you know, he saw what I was doing on you know, with the training and stuff, and he said to me, because he's working within that LGBT community, and he was like, that'd be great to do a seminar, because like you said, we get a lot of assault and things like that, people that do get assaulted. So I did a seminar. I think it was it wasn't too long. It was like a 2-hour thing in the gay village about 5 years ago, and we wanted to actually continue to do something maybe a bit more, how to say, a bit more regular. But apparently they didn't like. I mean, it's not that they didn't like. They didn't like the fact they want a gay instructor sort of thing. They want somebody that's part of their community.
Yeah, I think what it is, Julian, and it's like,
Yeah.
I know we've said quite a bit about women empowering women and so on and so forth. And it's not at all that we're saying, male instructors are not absolutely awesome. I think it's that if you're a black belt in taekwondo or whatever your art is, and you train in that kind of art and you go and to those classes, but what we're kind of focusing on here is just your everyday person who has no training and actually just needs to have that relatable feeling with their instructor.
That need it the most,
but they need to feel that they can relate to the person that so we're, like Jess likes to point out, two women who are 50.
Two 50-year-old women.
I'm not 50 yet.
Next week,
next month.
Fucking hell.
But
you're such a dick.
But just having that, being relatable with somebody, like, well, if these women, I'm just going to get her in a chokehold in a minute. I'm just going to get rid of them.
She's really jealous because I was 50 before her.
I'm literally hanging on to my 49 number for just a little bit longer.
Let it go, sister. It's coming at you like a freight train.
I will be embracing this. Absolutely.
No, but we are relatable. We're just two middle-aged women, for God's sake. Who does
normal
that?
Women. We're just normal. And I think that sometimes, people will walk into a room and they'll see yours and think, oh, okay, well, they're just normal everyday women.
And if they can do it,
we can.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, if there's like you said, a gay person and wanted a gay instructor, it's just that relatability, isn't it?
Yeah, I could feel that when we had a chat at first, I was trying to get to listen to people. When I did the seminar, we did a bit of an icebreaker where I was getting people to come forward. I said, if anyone has got a story that they want to put forward, they want to come forward with that story, we can, let's all be open, and there's no judgment. We'll just be open and just hear, give people our ear. And so I could tell as people were giving their story that I'm really trying to be understanding towards people. But I feel that maybe they thought, oh, that guy doesn't understand. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't understand what it is like.
Yeah.
And yeah, I felt.
With all due respect, Julian, you're a big gnarly looking dude. Do you know what I mean? People will perceive. We know you're not. We know you're a bit old putty cat. But how you present yourself to the world. You look pretty intimidating. You're tall. You're built. You've got. To those that don't know you, are going to think that you don't get it, and you totally do get it. But it's first impressions, and unfortunately, we're all victims. We're all victims of people's first impressions.
Yeah.
Every single one of us is victims to people's first impressions. And if we get the opportunity to get past that, then that's our chance to prove them wrong. But unfortunately, because of people's stigmas and stereotypes and self-perceived ideas, people don't always get the opportunity to get past that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what happened in your situation. They didn't give you the opportunity to get past that, because if they had, they'd have known that you were a very good teacher and you had a lot to bring to their, situation. But it's stereotypes. That's unfortunate. It is. But at this point, I do want to say that we do teach more women than men, for sure.
Yeah.
However, we do teach men as well, and it's very, very it's very important that men understand that, let your ego go, let your pride go. If you need to learn some skills and you want to learn them from us, it's a class, because we're very, very grateful for our male students, because we have a few, and we're very grateful for them on two levels. First level is what we're teaching them, they can take back to their wives, daughters, sisters, colleagues, mothers. Yeah, it's not just exclusively information for them. They can take it and give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then also as well, if we try and partner up men and women together, given with some due consideration and due diligence paid to anybody's history or anybody's trauma triggers,
for both parties.
Exactly. We will put them together, and the men will train with the women, because from a female point of view, it's going to be, and again, this is not us male bashing at all, because we love our male comrades. We've both got sons ourselves. This isn't what this is about at all. It's important that people listening to this understands that. What it does is, unfortunately, any attacks against women are going to be carried out by a man.
Yes.
You're going to have. You might get the odd woman attacking a woman, but generally that's like a hen party.
And it can be fucking brutal as well.
Yeah, it can. But for the most part, it's men against women. So when you train women, when you put men with women to train, it gives them a good bedrock of information, a good bedrock of knowledge, because actually they're fighting against somebody stronger, so that they're pressure tested. They're able to understand that actually training with your friend every week is not good, because you need to have that sensory feedback. For example, and the reason why we do this is, again, from our own personal experience. When we first started training together, we were there every week, 2-3 times a week, every week for about 3 years. For about 2 years. And we were like, hey, we're good at this. Hey, we're really good at this, aren't we? Because I can get the better of her and she can get the better of me. And yeah, we're really good at this. And one day we got split up and we got put with men. Well, we had our asses handed to us on a plate. It was like,
it was a game changer.
Shit, we're not that good, actually, as good as we thought we were. And that stepped us the hell up.
Yeah. But that also made us realise, which we hadn't at that point, it wasn't strength for strength. We had to be smart in what we did, and one of the, if you look at the 2 snakes on our logo, that's us two. and when we're teaching in our class, we'll talk about the coiled snake, and if you just imagine like snake in the pit of your stomach, and for example, if somebody's pinned you, so say for an example, if a man has pinned a woman, and again I know we're using man against a woman, but man pinning a woman on the ground, and the hands, and they've got you pinned, and it's horrible. It's a horrific position to be in, and for anybody who's being pinned like that, you feel vulnerable, helpless, and instead of panicking and thrashing about and trying to get strength for strength to get this person off you, if this, for example, is a sexual assault scenario, what's actually happening here? So just think about it for a minute. What's happening? You're pinned. Where are his hands? His hands are out of the equation. They're tied up with your hands. So nothing's happening. So don't use all your energy in thrashing and trying to use strength for strength to get this person off. It's not going to work, So nothing at this moment in time is happening. So for something to happen, if it's a sexual assault, unless, if you presumably you're both clothed, you're not going to be out if you're attacked on a night out or whatever, or your way home, you're not going to be naked. He's got to then release one of his hands to then release his clothing. At that point where you're lay there and you're waiting and the snake is coiling and coiling and coiling and coiling and coiling and coiling and coiling, and at that moment when you have that opportunity, you've got your window of opportunity, and that's when you bat the cat.
That is exactly what Melissa, how Melissa Salt puts it, like Dr. Ruthless, like where she's like, okay, don't play the man's game. He's physically stronger than you. You'll just waste all your energy. In fact, what you could do is kind of play the game, make him believe that he's going to get what he wants.
Exactly. Just subterfuge.
Exactly.
Be compliant.
Be a bit bitchy about it, so he thinks he's going to get what he wants. And then when he releases his hold, bang, just...
Bath the cat.
Bath the cat.
Bath the cat for the Southerners.
Bath the cat is from Windsor. But no, that's where the 2 snakes come from. And the 2 coiled cobras. But yeah, there's But again, we're not dissing male instructors or male students. We have massive respect for both of them, and we do teach men as well, and we're grateful for them. Needless to say, after our time of training with men, it switched our attention, shall we say? It fine-tuned our laser focus on what we needed to do. And actually, I was sparring with this one guy, and he had a box on, rolling around, and he had me pinned, and he was choking me out, and he was stronger than me. And I thought, in a minute, in any second now, I had enough sort of cognizant thought to think, in a minute, I'm gonna be choked out, and he's not letting me go because I need to fight him off me. Right, okay. Think laterally, Jessica. I got hold of his box. I pulled his box back. I reached inside the box and I just grabbed it, twisted it, and pulled it. He fucking let me go. Boom. Job done. But that was me thinking, like, I couldn't. Strength for strength? No. He had me. He had me pinned. He had me choked. I was gone. And in that last couple of seconds of consciousness, I was like, nah, I'm not having this. Box, hand, grab, boom. He let go.
And that's where you're accessing your inner lunatic.
I think they called me worse than a lunatic, actually. Probably. I got called worse than a lunatic when that happened. But
So on a level, so just like a little question, it's something that I like to do is, I got my sportive platform, and I know that you girls have boxed, have grappled with some of the top guys, like people like Jimmy Kelly, and so do you see it like this, where okay, you still train the sport aspect of things to kind of get these attributes in, work on these attributes, and then it's part of the toolbox that you teach to your students?
Absolutely,
for sure. Grappling, teacher training in grappling is dead important because, again, if you're a woman being attacked by a man, you lose your footing, you've got high heels on, it's raining, you slip, it's going to go to the ground. You need to know how to protect yourself from the ground. So grappling is really important. Boxing, I love boxing, we both do. Personally, I struggle with it because I'm too
feral.
Rude. She's right. No, I can't. It's too, your foot's got to do this. You do this, and then you jab across and blah blah blah. No, you're going to get a back fist. You can't back fist in boxing.
I got in trouble, didn't I?
You did.
I got in trouble.
But because you're trying to, as a Kraver, you're boxing. Well, as a Kraver, you're going to get a back fist. You're going to get in a headlock. I'm going to try and choke you out.
Everything.
You're going to get everything. Now, you're not just going to get a jab cross and Queensberry rules. You're going to get a back fist. And I got into trouble a lot.
Yeah, and we did another seminar once where we were in the Shark Tank. Everybody so we would lay on the floor, and every guy, because it was guys, every guy that came to us, and so they were side mounting, and we had to get them off us, and we were going feral because that's what we do. Bath a cat. We're going for eyes, we're going for ears, we're going for grabbing the hair,
fingers in the armpits,
pinching. Scratching, using your nails, all of those things. And it was, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Well, yes, we can, because that's how we're going to get you off us.
Don't try and grapple with a Kraver, because you're just going to get,
that's detached from your ear. That's the mode that we have to go into, when we're going to rip, and we're going to grab, and we're going to pinch, and we're going to scratch, and we're going to gouge. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go feral.
That you're going to go bath a cat.
We're going to go bath a cat. Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, it was funny because we're laid side by side. I think there was somebody else did that. And we're like chucking these guys off, and we're like, right, next. And then next. And I just looked over at Claire and I was like, you all right, dude? She's like, yeah, I'm good, buddy. Are you? Like, yeah, next.
and every bloke that walked off was like, me ear.
Oh, me armpit. Me eye.
Pull me hair.
Pull me hair. No, so it's not very orthodox, but
But we understand and we respect, like you said, the attributes and the base, sport of boxing is really important, and we do that in class, don't we?
And we work with Mo Teague as well. We're part of his. Yeah, he is. He's ace. We're part of his technical research and development group, and we go and train twice a year with him. We're going down next weekend, actually.
And, say hi. Tell him I said hi.
I'll tell him he said hi. And he does a 5-level boxing drill, which is super. Well, I'm saying it's super hard because it's so coordinated and boom, 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 boom. And as you're doing it, and you don't get any, it doesn't cut you any slack. You do it. You got to do it. And it's funny because he's got this sign on the wall of his gym, and it's stop whinging. It doesn't help.
No one cares.
Doesn't help, and nobody cares. And that's basically it. But he's a lovely guy. But we're very pleased to be part of that.
Yeah, very, very privileged. And it's
because we the tactical research and development group is basically putting together a document, an ultimate self-protection document, where he's invited people all across the country of their speciality and their skill set and their strengths to all put together this information. Because I think he said it at the Kaizen in Nottingham. I don't know if you heard him say this, that there's information out there, but it's not enough. It's not good enough. It's nowhere near
what it should be. Yeah,
it's inconsistent. There's too for a start, there's too many egos attached to what people are teaching. And he said, and it's important that this information is conveyed correctly. So what Amazonia do is we bring because as fantastic as these guys are, and they are really, really good at what they do. Mo Teague, is a freaking legend. How we met Mo Teague is a whole other story together, but it's hilarious. And as fantastic and as experienced and as skilled as Mo is, and his comrades, he will never, ever, ever, ever know what it's like from a woman's perspective, what it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be attacked as a woman, what it's like to attack as a woman.
And what comes with that is the emotional context from a woman, the emotional side of it. So it's really important, and that is part of that group, and that's where we come in, and we're actually super privileged and pleased that we're part of that.
Yeah, for sure, because the guy's a legend, and he wants Amazonia to be part of this journey with him, which is a huge accolade, really. But we're also the what if brigade in terms of, okay, so we're going to do this. What if it doesn't work? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What if A and B doesn't necessarily equal to C? What if it doesn't work? And you know what? To be fair to all of the team at TRDG, they go, right, okay, let's pick it apart. Let's find a way that does work. Because that's the ultimate in self-protection. Is not just there's your technique, do it right. If you don't do the technique right, you're shit. No. What if that technique's not going to work?
We've had it said to us in the past when we were students, well, if you do the technique right, then it will work. And it's like,
it's not for everyone. It depends on your body type. It depends on your mentality, your
cookie cutter
level.
Really no, it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's not just like, right, that'll fit you. I mean, we have one student who she struggles with the tactical get up. She struggles with the break fall. She struggles with the tactical get up. And in fact, when she's actually on the floor, she's got hip dysplasia and she can't get up. So she's getting herself really frustrated and upset this one night. And she's like, that's it. I'm done for. What if I'm on the floor and that's it? I'm game over. I was like, great, let's find a way. So we both got on the floor with her and we looked at how her body was placed. And we said, right, okay, what about this? Try that. Nah, it's not going to work. Okay. Try putting your leg that way. That still hurts. Right. Okay. So we found a way, didn't we? We found a way where she could actually, it was basically the attacker was stood in front of her and she was on the floor. Wrap your arms around the bottom just underneath their knees and get your shoulder in the knee joint and drive them forward. So like a low down rugby tackle just on the leg instead of the body. And it collapsed the person that was on the floor. And whilst it's not great that she's still on the floor, she's equalised it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's about, you've got to evolve, you've got to bend and flex and make it work for your students, because otherwise, what are we doing here?
We do principle-based teaching. So it's not, here's your technique, do your technique right, and it will always work and you will be safe and you will be able to do this and disarm a knife and do this and do. It's not about that. It's thinking about if the technique goes wrong, because you can have a technique. What if it goes wrong? Well, well, what am I presented with? What can I do? How can I get out of that? How can I work with this? You know, and it's about thinking, you know, and we'll slow it right down so that, you know, if you teach a technique and somebody in a real life situation does the technique and does it wrong, what they're going to do is just stop. Because muscle memory in class, they've stopped. I did it wrong. It was shit. Let's do it again. No, don't stop.
Wrong mentality. Yeah.
Don't stop. Think about where you are, what you're presented with, what you can use, what you can do to get out of that situation.
It's true. It's true.
It's like a very effective way of teaching, actually.
Yeah.
So it's an organic way of teaching because everybody is different body types, different strengths. They will find their own groove. They'll find their own way.
It's true. It's true.
You know, it's like what can I use? And we did one thing at the festival, and it was when women are being grabbed by the hand, you know, dragged away by the wrists like this.
Oh yeah.
It's one girl. When we taught it for the Jewish girls in Manchester, we were doing it, and it was like, yeah, but what if I'm trying to scooch round? What if they're scooching round? All right, well, stop scooching. Anchor yourself to them. Their hands now become your hands, and then literally
they've gifted them to you.
Yeah, they've given them They've given you their hands.
Take them.
Take them. Keep them. They now belong to you. They're my hands now. Thank you. Keep hold of them. Anchor yourself to them, and then do like a reverse bunny kick right up into their face, and they're like, oh yeah, we could do that, couldn't we? That's something that's wouldn't really be, I don't think that's ever been taught to us, but it's like, go rogue, go off piste, go do what you need to do. Just find a way. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good way of teaching. Very good. Very good.
Very good system.
It's good, yeah.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah. I hope none of our German brethren are watching this, because they're going to be like, take it.
Yeah. So, how about do you guys want to anything to add, or do you want to quickly maybe slowly wrap it up, or?
Is this you roughly translating? This is like, girls, shut up now, you're doing me head in.
I mean, the thing is, you know, these conversations can go on for hours and hours and hours. There's so much to talk about.
I'm quite happy to be there for another hour if you would like.
No, I think anyone listening to this now going to be like, will they ever shut up? And you know what? If Tommy's watching this, Tommy Joe Moore. Hi, Tommy. Hi. It's the ginger giant who we adore, and who also adores us in return. We better add. Yeah, we do. We've worked with Tommy in the past, and we've got a lot of respect from him. But if he's watching this right now, he'll be like, "Oh, for God's sake, girls, shut up!" So we will.
I tell you what, though, one thing that you can do is, if you have anything that you want to plug in, website, courses, seminars, dates, whatever it is, you can do it. That's what it's there for as well. The podcast.
Oh, cool.
You got a website?
Thank you.
We got websites under not at the moment. It's under construction, so it's as you know, it takes time. But we've got Facebook page, Instagram page. And
just drop us a message.
Yeah.
What are they? Amazonia Krav Maga?
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Okay, and so the day when you get a website, will it be amazoniakravmaga.com or something like that?
Probably, yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, when we were looking at names for our Krav school, we Googled. We didn't want to go down the whole, like warrior, Spartan, Viking. Because that's
Amazonia does it as well, isn't it?
The thing is, as well, it's like, we're women. Well, just embrace it. Don't try and hide behind a masculine name.
Yeah.
Just own it. So we did. That's where I'm at. But apparently there's only one more place in the world that's called Amazonia, and that's a soft play center in Brazil.
Huh.
So there's no real crossovers there. So
we're easily found.
Nice. Any seminars coming up
that we're going to, or that we're doing?
That you're doing.
So we're doing one for 120 women in October for a networking company, and it's basically an all-day event. So we're going to be doing them chunks of 30 women throughout the day. 4 chunks of 30 women throughout the day.
Yeah.
So we've got that coming up. We've got the Standing on the Shoulders of Giants seminar where we're teaching down with Mark Watson in Stoke.
Yeah.
That's in October as well. God, busy month.
We've got the seminars that we're starting with in collaboration with the Ladies Gym in Preston. So that's in September. The first one is being delivered at the beginning of September. And then university.
That's that one. And then the first Tuesday of every month, we teach a 3-hour intensive class. Rather than doing weekly classes, because what we found was because people are so busy and the people have these different lifestyles and budgets and commitments, coming to weekly classes was proving tricky for our students. So what we've done is we've put together a system, whereas by the first Tuesday of every month, you come to class between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. and you train, and it's 3 hours. And in that 3 hours, we're able to take one particular thing, do it, drill it, learn it, pressure test it. And then the next month, we'll do something different. Yeah. And we'll just weave techniques into there and different elements of what we teach. So that's the first Tuesday of every month. Okay. And that's sort of like Ashton, Stalybridge, Copley area. And then we teach every Thursday night down in Prestwich that is a ladies only class. That's the Jewish community. So yeah, we're very busy. Very busy.
You got your work cut out for you, ladies.
For sure. Yeah. We're never any other way. This is what we're doing. We're not. We ain't macking about. Here we go.
We're not.
No.
Macking about. But we both work. We both have.
Yeah, this is our passion. This is
our passion. This is,
This isn't paying our mortgage.
No.
We do it because we love it.
Yeah.
And I think that comes across in our teaching. We do it because we love it, not because we want the money. Because don't get much money from it. Nope. Just do it for the love.
Are you thinking eventually at some point maybe to write a book? No.
Oh my God. Do you know what?
We literally say all the time that we should record our conversations because honestly, I mean, you've heard some of the conversations.
True story.
Don't forget, you signed a disclaimer, Julien. Don't forget the disclaimer.
No, do you know what? I think it'd be great, but where'd you start? I mean, God.
Well, you just start somewhere. We should.
Page 1, chapter 1. I think, do you know what? I think if we wrote the book, it would be filed under F for fiction because nobody would believe it. We just literally lurch from disaster to adventure to calamity, back to more adventure. Yeah. Back to success, and then a bit more drama, and the
thing is,
that's what makes a story.
Exactly. And as much as the seriousness of this, we have the best time. We have an awesome time, and we have fun with our students.
She's my person.
She's mine.
That's nice.
And when we walk into the room, people just go, "Oh my God, they're here." Oh my God. And you know what though, we are, generally speaking, the only women that ever go to these seminars, which is like two chicks in a room full of dudes. But you know what? It's cool because by the end of it, we walk in and these dudes are like, "What are you doing here? Did you take a wrong turn, lady?" But by the end of the day, it's just like, having a laugh with them, and it's really good.
Yeah, we do. We have the best time.
That's one thing for sure. There's an awesome atmosphere with you girls. We know that, I'm stuck in the car for 5 hours with you one way and 5 hours the other. So I know what I'm talking about. There's a good atmosphere there. Sure.
Julien, stuck in a car, stuck.
You were in the best place
You're
ever.
The best place.
It's like, I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me.
My partner's just sent me a message because he's watching this live stream, and he's just said, "I can't believe you reached inside somebody's box and grabbed his tackle." He was like, "Fishes." I think he's a little bit worried now about who he's actually in a relationship with.
Jealous.
So on that note, that's a good note to end on.
But thank you so much for having us. We've loved it.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And we did run out of coffee hours ago. No more coffee.
I could feel the spike of energy, and now it's going like.
No, sweetie.
Great. That was great to have you on, girls, and
thank you.
Looking forward to hear and see the future of Amazonia Krav Maga and see where all that evolves. I know it's gonna get to its summit eventually.
Oh, we've just climbed Mount Snowdon as well. Talking of summits, we did that. We climbed it through the night, so we got to the top for sunrise. Yeah,
Nice.
that was good. That was good. Knackering, but anyway.
Yeah.
Don't get started on that. Squirrel! 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 Oh, look, an eagle. Oh, it's been lovely to talk to you, Julian.
Thank you so much.
Same here. What's next? What's next in terms of seminar? Like, where are you going to train next?
We're with Mo. We're going to be with Mo.
You said you're going to Mo next week, 2 weeks.
Next weekend.
Yeah, next weekend. And then August, we haven't got anything planned for, have we? No, we haven't got anything planned for August. We're actually going to do
September, just bonkers.
And so it's the Mo one, and then jump to October where we're going to be doing stuff. So
September,
super. Okay, well, for everyone that is watching, if they want to watch this again, you can.
I don't think anyone's going to want to sit through this again.
I'm sure some people are like, "Oh shit, I missed it. I want to see it again." Or come in.
Right.
So it's gonna be broadcasted. Well, it is broadcasted on my Facebook page, but probably the best place to see it is on the live section of the Adrenaline Combatives YouTube page. So if you want to share it as well, girls, if somebody asked for it or stuff, you can find it on my YouTube page in the live.
Cool. I think what we'll do is we'll copy the link and put it on our Amazonia group chat.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll tell them to get a big cup of coffee and a big pile of sandwiches because it's 2 hours.
And if this one doesn't stop talking, it's going to be 3 hours, 20 minutes. It's a wrap.
Sorry.
Hey, 2 hour 20. What were you saying, Claire?
I know.
Yeah. We said we were going to talk this
long. Time flies when we have fun.
I know.
So
I'm still trying to get used to these glasses.
I'm glad because you saw the first 2 women on the show, and like I said, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna make sure that there's more women on the show. So I spoke to Mary. So Mary, if you're watching, I'm still waiting to hear for a date, so we can maybe.
Mary is a fucking legend.
Mary's awesome.
Yeah, you need that
Mary
woman.
on here.
You need Mary on this show.
That'd be good. That'd be good. I think in next week or in a couple of weeks, I got a lady from the US called Kristen Irwin. She's got some really interesting videos as well on Instagram and on Facebook. So I have her on the show to speak about self-protection as well. And then, as I said to you, I'm getting Melissa Salt on as well. So that's going to be good. That's going to be an interesting one as well. So
it'll be interesting to see if there's any crossovers in there from their viewpoint as female instructors.
There will be.
And it'll be interesting to see if there's anything we can take from them as well and learn from them also.
Similar mind come to similar conclusions, you know that.
Yeah, I think so.
You'll definitely see some crossover points out there.
Absolutely.
Oh, right.
Oh, look, that's it. She's ready for.
That's it. I'm done. I've just been realised how much I've been fucking about with my hair the whole time, but my glasses and my hair and EDC.
Exactly.
Finger jab, like the glass jab.
The glassy joking at you're not bloody jabbing anybody with these. They cost a fortune.
Right.
Oh my god, I'm so blind.
All right, girls, and then everyone, I hope you enjoyed that show, and we shall see you next time.
Yes,
thanks,
you will. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.